Welcome, it's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Over this half hour, we'll be speaking with three leaders of the California Community College system. We're going to start with Bill Scroggins. He is the president and CEO of Mount San Antonio Community College District, also known as Mount SAC. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Brad.
Tell us a bit about Mount SAC.
Well, Mount SAC is the largest single campus community college in California. We serve 60,000 students in Walnut, right next to Cal Poly Pomona. And we're very proud of our success.
No doubt.
In fact, you've probably heard of the Mount SAC Relays, which are this weekend.
Nice. Tell us more about them.
Well, began in 1959. The 1960 Olympic trials were held there.
Wow.
In August 8th of that year, 6 Olympic or national records were set at Mount SAC.
I got to ask about educating 60,000 students. That is a huge number for any institution, let alone a community college. How are you able to navigate all those students and meet the needs of all those students, which I have to think are so varied in many exciting ways?
They are. Well, we're blessed with our location, so we draw from a wide area. We focus on regional programs that lead to careers in health and high-tech areas. We have a great transfer relationship with Cal States and universities and our surrounding privates.
I would presume Cal Poly Pomona being one of them, since
Absolutely.
It's literally next door?
Yes, we transfer about 2,500 students to the universities every year.
So if we were speaking a year or two ago, I have to think that the conversation would have been more dour than what today's conversation will be. There is no doubt that the community college system really took a hit over the last 5 years, starting with last year. How has it been in this last year with the economy improving, with receipts coming in at a better clip? I know Prop 30 doesn't benefit community colleges directly, but that being said, how is it going generally?
Well, it's going quite well. Proposition 30 did benefit us by stopping the cuts.
Well, yes.
Which we were cut 12% over that 5-year period. And at a school like ours, that's a lot of students.
But does money flow directly to community colleges through Prop 30?
Actually, it does.
Okay.
In the first year, which is this year,
okay,
the proposition guaranteed money going to higher education.
Okay.
And of course it benefits overall the education budget because it counts as Proposition 98 guaranteed money to community colleges.
At the same time, when we look at how Governor Brown is proposing that education dollars be spent, it's hard to deny that his sweet spot is K-12. Not as much community college, not as much UC-CSU. That's not to say that we aren't seeing more funding to higher ed. But if you look at restoration of pre-recession levels, community colleges are not there. CSU, UC not there. K-12 almost, if not already there. So talk to us about that balance.
Well, that's true. We're still climbing out of a very big hole. And so what during that recession we got leaner. We focused on student success. We reprioritized the way we're using our existing resources. So we're actually graduating more students now than we were at the height of our funding.
Really?
So that we've done things like prioritize the registration process, who gets in.
That's system-wide, I know.
System-wide. We've developed a student success initiative, which has changed policies, such as the number of times you can repeat a course, such as the probation status and what that means in terms of continuing in school.
But what about lifelong learners? Community colleges for so many years served not just those individuals that may have graduated from high school and wanted to start at community college, but also lifelong learners, moms, parents, grandparents. It seems as if lifelong learners may get lost in this transition.
It depends on what their goals are in coming to us. But yes, that's right. If it's avocational or recreational goals, then no. But those that are over 65, 30% of them are still working more than 20 hours a week, and they're finding second professions.
Really?
So we're the ones who provide that.
Who knew?
So that if you wanted to find some new work after your career here, you can
Right.
come to Mount SAC.
And this is my second career, so you never know.
There you go.
I also want to tell you about an exciting development, some would argue, with regard to California community colleges, and that is the possibility that is it 112 community colleges? I think that's the number.
That's right.
Might start to offer 4-year degrees. That would be a true revolution, but interesting, one that's already happened in several other states. There are other states that have their community colleges offering 4-year degrees in some form. What can you tell us about that move?
Yes, there are 21 of the 50 states who allow community colleges to offer baccalaureate degrees. What's happening is that as our economy evolves over the years, the requirements, the skill requirements to do the same job accelerate. And so we're at the point where careers like nursing, technology, broader healthcare, management, they require more training beyond the 2-year degree. So that if you're a nurse, you're doing a lot more high-tech work. If you're a health lab tech, you're doing a lot more high-tech work. If you're a middle-skilled computer technician, you're doing a lot more work. So our nursing degree is already 95 units. It takes 120 units to graduate. So for these professions, which are not the professions generally that the Cal State system or certainly UC offer, we are training those individuals, and we're up against a wall as to meeting the skill requirements that industry needs for those middle skill occupations.
So where does the system go from here? I know that the chancellor of the entire system has commissioned a study. I think that started back in October. So there's no doubt some evidence that we may be moving in that direction, but is this going to be glacial, or will we see movement at a much quicker pace?
It'll be measured. The bill in the legislature, SB 850, calls for authorization of up to 20 colleges to pilot one degree, right. And I think that we'll learn a lot from that pilot.
Will Mount SAC, or is Mount SAC on that list, or is the legislation silent?
The legislation doesn't specify. This will be an opportunity for those colleges to work with our chancellor to propose which particular baccalaureate degrees our region needs. It'll be based on labor
right.
market needs. And of course, because we're heavy in the health industry right. and the tech industry, yeah, something like cybersecurity, which is a specialty of ours, yes, we'd be in the mix to offer that degree.
A few years ago, I believe the sponsor of the bill you just mentioned is Senator Block, Marty Block from San Diego. Mm-hmm. He had a very similar bill back in 2011 that did not progress. I've spoken with Senator Block. He's bullish on its possibilities. Are you as well?
I am. I think that the time has come. This is actually the 6th effort to
is
do
it?
This over the years.
I didn't realize.
So I think that we're at the point where our university partners recognize that they can't do everything and that it's a natural evolution. It wasn't that long ago that Cal State wasn't authorized to offer doctorates,
right.
which they
That's
are
new.
now.
How long has that been?
That's a little over 10 years.
Okay.
So they had the same issue in that there were professional degrees, such as in education,
right.
that needed a special four-year graduate degree, and they are now offering them very effectively.
What about community college's ability to provide the resources needed for those 4-year degrees? Will you need to bring on PhDs, which aren't necessarily a requirement of a community college professor, or expand your libraries or your labs or whatever it may be?
Well, there are two answers to that. One is that we need to have faculty members who are qualified to teach at that level,
right.
and we do already.
Okay.
Secondly, we need to be accredited to teach at that level, and the accreditation standards are different for 4-year schools. So we'd be under candidacy, and we'd have to prove ourselves to the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, which accredits 4-year baccalaureate degrees.
It's an exciting time, no doubt. His name is Bill Scroggins. He is the president and CEO of Mount San Antonio Community College. My name is Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition.
How many community colleges operate in the United States? 921, 1,040, 1,132, or 1,201? According to the American Association of Community Colleges, 1,132 community colleges operate in the nation.
This is Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, he is back, Scott Svonkin. He is the vice president of the Los Angeles Community College District, also finishing his term as the president of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. We'll talk about that in a moment. Great. I want to speak about summer school.
Yes.
Over the last few years, community colleges throughout the state were canceling summer school, which was very difficult because they were cutting sessions during the regular year and then canceling summer school when the students thought they could come back to make up the sessions that were canceled.
Correct.
But now you're able to bring them back.
Yes, this year, unlike any year in the last 5, we are going to have summer school at all 9 LA Community College campuses. From the top of the San Fernando Valley to down in the South Bay. We are fortunate that the voters voted for Prop 30, which gave us an infusion of cash and money to pay for classes. And the other thing is property taxes are up. And therefore, we received $17 million from the public to help us educate the people in Los Angeles.
Are fees the same for summer school?
Absolutely, because you get the same, it's more intensive, you get the same credits. So it's based on hours of class.
Talk to us about how important you believe the retention of summer school is within LACCD.
Well, it's critical because it helps people get to their next goal. Summer school is when you don't go to school all year round and you're trying to advance in your profession or your trade or your vocation, or you're trying to get into a UC or CSU, you've got to finish. And the longer it takes, the more costly it is for our students. And virtually all our students are working people.
Right.
And so having summer school at every campus, from LA City College, LA Trade, to the Valley colleges, all the way to the Southwest and West LA, we are open for business. Classes open.
What about during the year? Are sections being brought back to levels that they were pre-recession?
We are doing everything we can. My number one priority is to offer more classes so that students can come and succeed and get done with what they're trying to. Finish their AA degree, prepare for transfer, get a certificate, whatever you need, LACCD is open for business.
But we know that programs were cut, not sections, but programs were cut. Are those programs being brought back?
Some of them are. Our main focus is core education, preparing people either for a career or for transfer. So some of the classes, some of the programs that were cut won't come back right away, but we're opening more sections so people can get English and math and they can get ready to transfer.
During the recession, some of our neighbor states were, I guess, taking advantage of the challenges of the community colleges here in California and grabbing transfers. It used to be that if you went to a California community college, you transferred to a California State College or UC. But our friends in Arizona, they were grabbing some of these folks. Have we seen that trend reverse?
Not yet. The struggles at the UCs and CSUs have just begun to diminish. The community colleges are thriving. We are going to, hopefully within a year or two, be back to where we were 5 years ago, where students weren't waiting. We had 3 to 5 students for every class. We had more demand than we had seats available.
The challenge, though, from my vantage point, is that with college getting so expensive, although levels have stabilized for public colleges in California, people are turning to community college as a viable alternative. It's not remedial anymore. People are going to community college because the first 2 years can be somewhat affordable. So if you look at trends, it seems to me that your numbers are only going to continue to increase.
They are, and that's why we're doing everything we can to work with the governor and the legislature to say we need money for growth. You have to invest in community colleges because not only do people come to us when times are tough, but people have figured out it's the best bang for your dollar. You get more for the $500 you have in your pocket if you want to make your dreams come true than if you go to a UC or CSU. And the privates are even more expensive. And then the for-profits, the for-profit colleges, those are just generally outrageous, and you don't end up getting what you pay for.
We've talked about this, but I want to go there since we do see that public and private institutions, their fees are increasing is the question of 4-year back degrees at community colleges. We know it's under investigation, under study, I should say, by the system generally. I understand recently the board voted 4-3, your board, in favor of continuing to look at the issue. What's the update, if you can tell us?
Well, our district voted to support legislation in the state capitol so that we could test the idea of giving 4-year degrees, giving bachelor's degrees in certain specialty areas. There are areas that we do things really well. We do things in the trades, in the culinary arts, in the nursing areas. We have programs where there's no need to go to a UC or a CSU, and there aren't enough seats at the UCs or CSUs.
Anyway,
so whether you're a rural or a suburban, if you're in Los Angeles and you can't get into a nursing program at a Cal State, we want to be able to graduate nurses. We want to be able to graduate people with degrees in things they can get jobs in.
Do you think this will happen, if at all, sooner or later?
Well, it's very complicated because what has to happen is we've got to prepare to do it, and then the CSUs and UCs have to agree that there's a need.
Why?
It's just part of the bill.
I understand.
And so they want everybody to work together. And the fact is our community colleges have a great history of working with our CSUs and UC partners, and we want to continue that. We don't want to be taking students away from them. We want to be helping students achieve their goals where they can't get it elsewhere.
The issue of safety on campuses continues to be at the forefront. Recently there was an incident, I think it was in Pennsylvania, with a knife used as the weapon. 20 students injured, no one perished, but that being said, there was an incident at a Jewish community center, not exactly a school campus, but a similar type of setting.
Right, a community, we're community colleges, JCC is a community organization.
And so Santa Monica College had an incident
in the neighborhood.
Yeah, in the neighborhood that spilled onto the campus. What is LACCD doing on the question of safety on campus?
Well, I'm proud to have led the effort on a number of initiatives. Number one, we have a system in place soon at all 9 campuses. We just voted to fund a communication system that will text, email, and call cell phones of all of our students and faculty and staff so that they'll know whether they need to stay in place or whether they need to move to a safe location.
Reverse 911.
Essentially it is, but it's just for our colleges. And so we are doing everything we can, working in partnership with the LA County Sheriff's Department. Our security at the campuses are the LA County Sheriffs. And so we do active shooter training on our campuses with the LA Sheriff's Department. They come in and train our faculty and staff on what to do if there's a shooter. We are doing everything we can to make LA community colleges the safest community colleges in the state and the nation. Whether it's notifying our students what the threat is, having the Sheriff's Department prepare us, or I'm hoping that because we're going to see growth in our student body, that we will invest in more deputies on our campus.
You are ending your term as the president of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. I understand that you were instrumental in averting a divorce, I guess you could say, with the Los Angeles County Office of Education.
Yes, I was able, with the help of my executive board, and a few of our executive board members were critical in this. We negotiated with the county superintendent, Dr. Delgado, a resolution to some concerns he had. When I was elected president the second time, this is my second term, I led the effort to deal with the issue of gun issues, gun safety around campuses, gun control. And I've been active in that issue probably for 20 years. I believe very much that we need to protect our communities and protect our colleges and our K-12s. And so we sat down over a period of months with Dr. Delgado, our executive board, and we've negotiated a peace agreement. And I'm very proud that Dr. Delgado saw fit to keep the 76 years of partnership between LACO and LACCD healthy.
Congratulations.
Thank
His
you.
name is Scott Svonkin. He is the Vice President of the Los Angeles Community College District. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's Charter California Edition.
For the school year 2011-12, how many associate degrees were awarded through all the nation's community colleges? 421,982, 770,797, $912,948, or $1,137,427. During the 2011-12 school year, the nation's community colleges awarded 770,797 associate degrees.
Welcome back. It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Selvidge. He is a trustee at the Pasadena Community College District. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're a new trustee, so
That's right.
How is your new position? Are you enjoying yourself?
I'm enjoying myself, and I tell everybody that it's 5 times as much work as I expected. Being a new trustee for a college with 27,000 students and a $250 million budget means there's an awful lot to learn.
Right, and for our viewers statewide, PCC is quite the campus. It's beautiful, a very large student body, really pulls from a lot of different communities and feeds into some outstanding four-year institutions.
Well, it certainly does. It's really a top-tier community college. It was when I was there a long time ago.
Long time ago.
A long time ago. My wife went there. Members of my family, we've got a long history with PCC, but it's changed. The student body is different. It's drawing from a much larger area now, but it still has the reputation for being an absolutely top-tier college.
And just as an example of one of PCC's graduates, where did you wind up?
I spent a year at PCC after graduating from John Muir High School in Pasadena, and went on to USC, got my undergraduate degree in architecture.
And then?
I ended up with a PhD in finance and land economics.
Just a PhD.
From USC.
I was going to say.
So I changed fields.
Oh, you did. So let's talk about something that's exciting happening on campus, and it's apropos given your background as an architect. The campus recently opened what's called the Center for the Arts. Tell us about it.
Right. Well, this is the capstone project, really, for a large campus improvement program that was launched after we passed a bond issue about 10 years ago.
And if I may, I want to talk about bond issues before we go specifically into the center. It is quite a financing tool that you need. You turn to the voters, and often they're generous and they vote in favor of bonds.
Correct. Right.
So talk to us about the bond in the past and why it was so important for the center.
Well, it was large. We raised $150 million, and the center, I think, cost $50 million, something like that, out of the 150.
Right.
And we passed the bond because people in the district were confident that the college would spend the money well. And this is just about the last thing we're going to be spending that bond money on.
Right.
And it's my understanding and my belief that we've actually brought the whole program in under budget and on time.
Tell us about the building.
The building houses the visual and performing arts, which were combined in one school. We have lecture space, we have shop space, we have studios for photography, we have classrooms that are rigged for the various types of technology that are now being used in the visual arts.
21st century.
We have the recital rooms, and we also have a recital hall.
And didn't something happen recently in the recital hall? It was pretty significant?
Well, on the night that we had our grand opening, which was a pretty spectacular community event, we had a number of dignitaries and people who had been generous in helping fund special parts of that facility, but also Mayor Bill Bogart of Pasadena chose that night to give his State of the City speech following the grand opening program in our recital hall.
There's no doubt that when you think about Pasadena, PCC truly is an integral part of the community. PCC, Caltech, Rose Bowl, I mean, it really is part of the fabric that makes up Pasadena.
An arts center. I learned during the campaign last year that the reputation of PCC as a school where you can learn the arts is much more prestigious than it was when I was there a long time ago, getting ready to go into architecture. Students will tell you who go to PCC that PCC makes it possible for them to get into Art Center as the follow-on. Art Center is one of the most renowned art schools in the world, and they're very selective, but PCC's art programs and the Art Center people have a very good relationship. Going to PCC is better than going to, I won't name other community colleges around here, but be diplomatic. But it's really a fine way for somebody going who has that ambition to go to the top tier art college to get their basic training.
And for those that may not want to advance, It's also a good degree if you consider Burbank and Glendale and the businesses that are in those communities,
Sure.
Pasadena as
Sure.
well, many studios, both traditional studios and 21st century studios, and so it helps out a lot.
We had a director, a very well-known director who had gone through PCC, who came and gave a really inspirational talk as part of our grand opening.
I want to speak about the future of not only PCC, but community colleges in general. As we know, when I was younger, maybe when you were younger, those that went to community college often saw it as a place to get a fresh start. It wasn't necessarily seen as a place where you would go after excellence in high school. That's changed. It's changed dramatically. Community colleges now are absolutely respectable institutions, and they are places where people will go for a variety of reasons. It could be that it's close to home, the cost is right. We also know that the four-year institutions, especially at the public level, CSU, UC, are impacted. And when you combine those two factors together, there is now a push to investigate, to study whether community colleges should be permitted to offer four-year degrees here in the state of California. 21 states allow their community colleges to offer some form of four-year degree, not necessarily in all categories, but in some categories. What do you think of that effort to at least study the question of whether California's community colleges should be granting four-year degrees?
Well, we certainly need to study it. Pasadena City College was one of the colleges that was designated as being eligible to look into this and possibly do it. I'm a guy who needs to be shown. You got to explain, you got to answer questions if we're coming up with a really big step. And at PCC, if we were to offer a four-year degree, it would be in nursing. It would be in the nursing field.
Because
that's the program we've got, and I believe that's what was designated for PCC.
Well, there's no doubt that nursing has turned into a profession that's very desirable, well paid, and we know in California there is a dearth of nurses. We also know with the Affordable Care Act there's a need for frontline medical professionals, so it's not surprising to hear that PCC would look at that area. What can you tell us where we stand now, at least as it relates to the investigation of whether we should look into this?
Well,
what have you learned?
At our last board meeting 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation by the head of our health sciences school, which covers both nursing and the various dental programs and a few other health-related programs. And she ran through the benefits and the way having a four-year program would have an impact on PCC. We'd have to make adjustments with faculty, we'd have to make adjustments with facilities, we'd have to make adjustments with the relationships that our nursing program has with local hospitals and medical facilities.
Let's talk about those adjustments, because there's no doubt that the requirements of educational institutions at a four-year location are different than at a community college. And so would PCC, or any community college for that matter, need to start requiring PhDs to be the professors? Or would you need more labs or more laboratories? Or is that, again, up for investigation and study?
Well, I think you would certainly need more labs and laboratories. There would need to be more space, just because we're going to have more bodies doing the study.
Sure.
But I don't know what impact it would have on the nursing faculty. And I couldn't tell you right now, because I'm still kind of new.
Which is fair.
What the breakdown is.
Which is very
right
fair.
now.
At the same time, while there's a lot of excitement around the possibility, there is some concern that should the California community colleges go in that direction, it would fundamentally change the mission of community colleges. And some are a little fearful of that change. Community colleges had intended to be places for technical degrees, for 2 years, and then matriculation to a four-year. What do you make of that?
Well, when people say that there are 20 or whatever states in which community colleges offer four-year programs, if that is used as an argument for why we should in California or at PCC in particular, I'd like to understand, why do those states have it?
Right.
And how do those circumstances compare with the circumstances here in California and this educational master plan that we've been operating under for so long?
If you think, most recently Florida adopted four-year degrees, Michigan, I mean, these are big states.
Yes.
And so it's an exciting possibility. I'm sure it's one we'll be talking about in the future. His name is Ross Selvidge. He is one of the newest members of the Pasadena Community College District. My name is Brad Pomerance, and this is Charter California Edition.